"Oh God," she whispers, gripping the counter edge. "Oh God, Marisol, I think I'm—" Her best friend's eyes go wide as saucers. Marisol drops the dish rag she's been using to wipe down tables and rushes over, her practical nursing scrubs swishing with the urgency of her movement. She grabs Thea's elbow, steadying her, and steers her toward the back hallway, away from the curious stares of the breakfast crowd. "You're what?" Marisol hisses, though her dark eyes are already filling with knowing concern. "Thea, please tell me you're not about to say what I think you're about to say." They squeeze into the narrow storage room that smells of ground coffee beans and vanilla syrup. Thea leans against a shelf stacked with industrial-sized cans of tomato sauce, her whole body shaking. At 46, she'd thought this chapter of her life was closed. Done. Her daughter Ivy is 23 for heaven's sake, graduated from college and living her own life in Portland. Thea was supposed to be entering her peaceful era, maybe dating casually, finally taking that pottery class at the community center. "Before we continue, please prove my mom wrong. She says I can't hit 1,000 subscribers. Okay, let's continue." But then Kieran happened. Just thinking his name sends heat spiraling through her chest, mingles with the panic and the nausea and something else she can't quite name. Wonder, maybe. Terror, definitely. "I'm pregnant," she says, and hearing the words out loud makes them real in a way the 3 positive pregnancy tests this morning couldn't quite manage. "I'm pregnant with the Vampire King's baby." Marisol's mouth opens, closes, opens again. "With the... Thea, are you feeling okay? Do you need to sit down? Maybe you hit your head when you..." "I know how it sounds." Thea cuts her off, pressing her palms against her flushed cheeks. "I know, okay? But it's true. Kieran he's not just some guy. He's not even human, Marisol. He's the Vampire King of the entire Pacific Northwest Territory, and I'm carrying his child, and I have no idea what to do because he doesn't even know yet. And what if he doesn't want... the Vampire King?" Marisol's voice has gone flat, the way it does when she's trying very hard to process information that doesn't fit into her orderly worldview. She's a labor and delivery nurse, practical to her bones, and Thea can see her friend's mind working overtime to categorize this revelation into something that makes medical sense. "Yes, the Vampire King. I know you don't believe in... Honey, I've seen a lot of wild things in my 20 years at St. Mary's," Marisol interrupts gently. "But vampires? Actual vampires? You met this Kieran where, exactly?" "At the grocery store," Thea says miserably, and even she can hear how ridiculous it sounds. 3 months ago. I was reaching for the last organic strawberries, and so was he, and our hands touched, and it was like lightning, Marisol. Like every romance novel I've ever secretly read, but never believed in. He looked at me like I was the only person in the world. She can still see it so clearly. Kieran standing in the produce section of the Safeway on Morrison Street, impossibly beautiful, in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His hair is black as midnight, falling just past his collar, and his eyes, God, his eyes, are this stunning shade of amber that seems to glow from within. He'd smiled at her, this devastating crooked smile, and said, "Please, take them. I insist. A beautiful woman deserves beautiful things." Most men his age, he looks maybe 35, though she knows now he's actually 273, wouldn't have looked twice at a middle-aged waitress in a faded denim jacket with flour smudges on her jeans. But Kieran had looked at her like she was precious. Rare. He'd asked her to coffee right there in the produce aisle. And somehow, impossibly, Thea had said yes. "He told you he was a vampire on the first date?" Marisol asks, and there's no judgment in her voice, only concern. "Third date." Thea laughs, but it comes out shaky. "We were in his penthouse. And yes, I know what you're thinking. But I was careful at first, I promise. We met in public places. He never pressured me. He was a perfect gentleman. But by the third date, I wanted to see where he lived. And when we got there, he sat me down and told me everything. Everything. That he's the sovereign ruler of all vampires from Seattle to San Francisco. That he's lived for nearly 3 centuries, watching the world change around him, searching for something he could never quite name until he saw her reaching for those strawberries. That his kind exists in the shadows of human society, neither purely predatory nor fully integrated, walking a careful line that keeps both worlds safe. That he drinks blood, yes, but only from willing donors who are compensated generously and cared for meticulously. That he can walk in daylight, unlike the myths suggest, though it weakens him. That he's powerful beyond measure, wealthy beyond reason, and lonely in a way that made Thea's chest ache when he described it. "And you believed him?" Marisol asks softly. "He showed me." Thea's voice drops to barely a whisper. His eyes changed, Marisol. They went from amber to this incredible molten gold, and his canines elongated, and then he moved so fast I couldn't even track it with my eyes. 1 second he was across the room, the next he was beside me. He can hear my heartbeat from the other side of his apartment. He knew I was nervous before I did. Marisol is quiet for a long moment. Outside the storage room, Thea can hear the cafe humming with its usual morning chaos. The hiss of the espresso machine, the cheerful ding of the order bell, the low murmur of conversation and clinking dishes. Her normal life. The one she's built so carefully after her divorce from Ivy's father 5 years ago. The one where she works double shifts to make rent on her studio apartment and considers dinner at Applebee's a special occasion. "Okay," Marisol finally says. "Let's say I believe you. Let's say this Kieran really is what you say he is. You've been seeing him for 3 months?" "Yes, it's been intense, Marisol. Like nothing I've ever experienced. He makes me feel things I haven't felt since I was 20. No, scratch that. I never felt like this even when I was 20. When he looks at me, I feel beautiful, powerful, seen. We talk for hours about everything: art, history, philosophy. He's lived through so much, seen so much. And when he touches me..." She trails off, heat flooding her cheeks. Even now, remembering the feel of Kieran's hands on her skin, his lips tracing the curve of her throat, the way he whispers her name like a prayer, it makes her dizzy. "When he touches you, what?" Marisol prompts, but there's a small smile playing at her lips now. "It's transcendent," Thea admits. "I didn't know my body could feel like that. And he's so gentle with me, so reverent, like I'm made of spun glass and starlight. He says I'm his mate, that in all his centuries, he's never felt this pull toward anyone. That vampires don't love easily or often, but when they do, it's forever. And now you're pregnant with his baby." "And now I'm pregnant with his baby," Thea confirms, her hand drifting unconsciously to her still flat stomach. Which shouldn't even be possible, apparently. He told me vampires almost never successfully reproduce. "It's incredibly rare. He said he'd heard of maybe 3 vampire-human hybrid children born in the last century." "But you didn't use protection?" Thea's cheeks burn hotter. "We did, actually. We were careful. But I guess when you're dealing with supernatural biology, regular condoms don't exactly..." The storage room door flies open with such force that it bangs against the wall. Thea and Marisol both jump, clutching each other, and Thea's heart plummets straight through the floor when she sees who's standing there. Vanessa Hartwell. Of all the people in all the cafes in all of Portland, it had to be Vanessa. Her former sister-in-law, ex-wife of Thea's ex-husband's brother, and the most venomous gossip in their entire social circle. The woman is dressed in head-to-toe Lululemon, her highlighted blonde hair pulled back in a severe ponytail that pulls her already tight face even tighter. She's clutching her phone in one perfectly manicured hand, and the expression on her face is pure, malicious glee. "Did I hear that correctly?" Vanessa asks, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "You're pregnant? At your age? By some man you met at the grocery store?" Her laugh is sharp and cruel. "Oh, Thea, it's sad, really. First you couldn't keep David interested, and now you're so desperate for male attention that you're making up these elaborate fantasies about vampire kings?" She makes air quotes with her free hand. "A vampire king, Thea? Really?" Thea feels like she might vomit again, and this time it has nothing to do with morning sickness. "Vanessa, you don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," Vanessa cuts her off. You're a middle-aged waitress who got knocked up by some smooth-talking player who probably fed you a line about being royalty to get into your pants. And now you're what? Hoping he'll come back? Hoping he'll actually claim this baby? She shakes her head with exaggerated pity. Honey, men like that don't stick around for women like you. Whatever he told you, whatever promises he made, he's already moved on to the next desperate divorcee. Each word lands like a physical blow. Thea's throat constricts, her eyes burning with the humiliation of it. Because isn't there a part of her, a small, terrified part, that believes exactly what Vanessa is saying? Kieran hasn't called in 3 days. 3 days. And yes, he'd told her he had to handle some territorial dispute in Sacramento, some urgent vampire political matter that required his immediate attention. But what if that was just an excuse? What if he's already tired of her, already regretting getting involved with a human woman who has nothing to offer him but laugh lines and stretch marks and a 23-year-old daughter? You don't know what you're talking about, Marisol says fiercely, stepping in front of Thea like a human shield. You need to leave, Vanessa. Now. I'm just trying to help her face reality before she makes an even bigger fool of herself, Vanessa says, but she's already pulling out her phone, and Thea knows with sick certainty that this whole humiliating conversation is about to become tomorrow's Gossip Mill headline. Wait until David hears about this. Wait until everyone hears about poor Thea and her vampire king fantasy. His name is Kieran Nightborn. The voice comes from behind Vanessa, and it's like velvet wrapped around steel, low and smooth and carrying an undertone of absolute authority that makes every person in the immediate vicinity freeze. Vanessa spins around so fast she nearly loses her balance, and Thea's heart stops completely. Because Kieran is standing there. He's in the hallway of the Morning Bloom Cafe, in a black suit that probably costs more than the cafe's entire monthly revenue, looking like some dark prince who stepped out of a fever dream and into fluorescent-lit reality. His black hair is slightly windswept, as if he's been moving very fast, and his amber eyes are fixed on Vanessa with an intensity that would make a wiser person step back. Vanessa is not a wiser person. And who are you supposed to be? She demands, though her voice has gone a bit shrill. Kieran moves forward with that preternatural grace that still takes Thea's breath away, and suddenly he's standing between Vanessa and the storage room, between this awful woman and Thea, like a wall of elegant menace. I am Kieran Nightborn, he says, and his voice has gone quiet in that particular way that makes it all the more dangerous. I am the vampire king of the Pacific Northwest Territory. I am the father of the child Thea carries. And I am the man who is going to ask you very politely, one time only, to apologize to my mate for your unforgivable rudeness. The hallway has gone completely silent. Even the sounds from the cafe seem muted. Thea can see the moment Vanessa's brain tries to process what she's hearing, can watch the disbelief and then the dawning uncertainty cross her Botoxed features. Your mate? Vanessa's voice wavers. My mate, Kieran confirms. My chosen partner. The woman who has captivated me entirely, who has made my very long life finally feel worth living. The woman who is carrying the most precious gift I have ever received. He pauses, and when he speaks again, his voice drops even lower. The woman you just insulted grievously. I was just... Vanessa stammers, and Thea has never seen her look uncertain before. It's oddly satisfying. You were just leaving, Kieran says, and it's not a question. Vanessa's mouth opens and closes like a fish. She looks from Kieran to Thea, and back again, and whatever she sees in Kieran's face makes the color drain from her own. She backs up 3 steps, clutching her phone to her chest like a shield. This isn't over, she tries to say, but it comes out weak. Oh, I rather think it is, Kieran replies pleasantly. Unless you'd like me to have a conversation with your employer about workplace harassment. I understand you work at the Riverside Medical Clinic as an office manager. Dr. Patricia Chen is a personal friend. We served together on the board of the Pacific Northwest Blood Bank Foundation last year. Lovely woman. I'm quite sure she'd be interested to hear about how her office manager spends her lunch breaks harassing pregnant women. Vanessa goes white as a sheet. She turns and practically runs down the hallway, her designer sneakers squeaking against the linoleum. The moment she's gone, Kieran turns, and his entire demeanor shifts. The cold menace evaporates, replaced by something warm and urgent and achingly tender. He looks at Thea, really looks at her, and his amber eyes are glowing faintly. "Thea," he breathes, and in 2 strides he's crossed the distance between them. His hands cup her face, gentle as a whisper, and he's searching her expression with an intensity that makes her knees weak. "Is it true? Are you carrying our child?" She nods, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Tears are streaming down her face now. When did she start crying? And Kieran's thumbs brush them away with infinite care. "I was going to tell you," she manages. "I just found out this morning, and you were in Sacramento, and I didn't want to do it over the phone. And then Vanessa—" "Shh," he murmurs, pulling her into his chest. His arms come around her, strong and secure, and Thea can hear the steady thrum of his heart beneath her ear. It beats slower than a human heart, but it beats for her. "Breathe, my love. Just breathe." "I thought you might not want it," she whispers into his shirt. "I thought you might think I was trying to trap you, or that I was too old, or—" Kieran pulls back just enough to look into her eyes, and what she sees there steals her breath. Wonder. Joy. Something that looks suspiciously like tears gathering in those impossible amber depths. "Not want it?" he repeats, and his voice cracks on the words. "Thea, do you have any idea? In 273 years, I have never created life. Never. I'd resigned myself to the fact that I likely never would. And now you're telling me that you, the woman I love more than I thought possible to love anything, you're carrying my child? Our child?" He drops to his knees right there in the storage room, in his expensive suit, on the dirty linoleum floor. His hands span her waist, and he presses his forehead against her stomach with a reverence that makes Marisol gasp softly from where she's still standing in the doorway. "Our child," Kieran whispers against her belly. "Our impossible, miraculous child." And then he looks up at her, and the expression on his face is so full of love and awe and naked vulnerability that Thea's heart feels like it might burst. "Marry me," he says. "What?" Thea's brain has short-circuited. "Marry me," Kieran repeats, rising to his feet in one fluid motion. "I know it's fast. I know by human standards we've barely been together. But by vampire standards, 3 months is more than enough time to know that you are my eternity. I knew it the moment I saw you. I've known it every moment since. I want to stand before our community, both communities, human and vampire, and claim you publicly as mine. I want everyone to know that you are the vampire queen, that this child you carry will be the heir to everything I have. I want—" "Yes," Thea interrupts, and she's laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes, yes, yes!" Kieran's face transforms. The cool, controlled vampire king disappears completely, and what's left is just a man. An impossibly old man who looks young, a powerful creature who's been brought to his knees by love, grinning at her like she's just given him the sun and the moon and every star in the sky. He kisses her then, right there in the storage room with Marisol watching, and probably half the cafe staff peeking around the corner, and it's nothing like his usual careful restraint. It's desperate and claiming, and full of promise. When he finally pulls back, they're both breathing hard. "I have to tell Ivy," Thea says breathlessly. "My daughter. She's going to think I've lost my mind." "I've already met Ivy," Kieran says, and Thea blinks at him. "You have?" "I flew to Portland yesterday. I had to make sure she approved of me before I asked you to marry me. Well, before I planned to ask you to marry me. This has moved the timeline up somewhat, but I'm not complaining." His smile is absolutely wicked. "She's lovely, Thea. Smart and fierce and protective of you, exactly as she should be. She grilled me for 2 hours at a coffee shop and made me promise that if I ever hurt you, she would find a way to make me regret it, Vampire King or not." "And what did you say?" "I told her that if I'm ever fool enough to hurt you, I would hand her the weapon myself. Thea's throat tightens with emotion. Of course he met Ivy. Of course he thought to get her blessing. This man who has lived for centuries, who rules over an entire supernatural territory, who could have anyone or anything he wanted. He cares about the approval of her 23-year-old daughter. There's more, Kieran says, and now he looks almost nervous. I need you to come with me. Right now. There's something I want to show you, and someone I want you to meet. I'm working, Thea protests weakly, gesturing at her cafe uniform. Not anymore, you're not, Marisol says firmly, untying her apron. I'll cover your shift. Go with your vampire king. She grins. I can't believe I just said that sentence and meant it. 20 minutes later, Thea is in the passenger seat of Kieran's Mercedes, watching the city blur past as they head toward the hills overlooking Portland. She's still in her uniform, still processing everything that's happened in the last hour, and her hand keeps drifting to her stomach like she needs to confirm the tiny life growing there is real. Where are we going? She asks as Kieran turns onto a private road she's never noticed before. Home, he says simply. Our home. I bought it 3 weeks ago. The road winds through towering Douglas firs and opens into a clearing that makes Thea's breath catch. The house, no, the estate, is stunning. It's modern but warm, all glass and natural wood and stone, nestled into the hillside like it grew there naturally. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city below, and she can see the river glinting in the afternoon sun. Kieran, she whispers, it's too much. It's not nearly enough, he counters, parking the car and coming around to open her door. It has 6 bedrooms, Thea. Room for Ivy when she visits. Room for the baby. Room for however many children we're blessed with. There's a studio on the 3rd floor with perfect northern light where you can paint. Yes, I remember you mentioned wanting to take up painting again. The kitchen is designed for someone who actually loves to cook, not like my sterile penthouse kitchen. And the master suite has a bathtub the size of a small pool because I intend to spend many evenings watching you relax in it. He's thought of everything. Every conversation they've had. Every offhand comment she's made about her dreams and wishes. He's been listening. Really listening. Come inside, he says, taking her hand. There's someone waiting. The interior of the house is even more beautiful than the exterior. Warm, hardwood floors, comfortable furniture in soft neutrals and deep blues. Art on the walls that she actually recognizes from their conversations. But Kieran leads her past all of it, through the expansive living room and out onto a terrace that overlooks the city. There's a woman standing there, and Thea stops short. She's stunning in an otherworldly way, tall and slender with silver hair that falls to her waist and eyes the color of storm clouds. She's wearing a simple gray dress that somehow looks both ancient and utterly modern, and when she turns to face them, her smile is warm but knowing. Thea, Kieran says softly, this is Lyanna Nightborn, my sister. Thea's mind reels. In all their conversations, Kieran has mentioned his sister exactly twice, and both times his expression had gone distant and sad. She'd gathered that they'd been estranged for decades, some kind of falling out he wouldn't discuss. Your sister, Thea repeats faintly. Lyanna steps forward, and her movements have that same liquid grace that Kieran's do, but her eyes are kind when they meet Thea's, and when she speaks, her voice is like music. Hello, Thea. My brother has told me so much about you, though I confess I didn't quite believe him when he said he'd found his mate after all this time. She glances at Kieran with obvious affection. I thought perhaps he'd gone mad. Kieran has always been the serious one, the responsible one. The idea that he'd lose his head over a woman seemed impossible. I haven't lost my head, Kieran protests. I've found it. There's a difference. Lyanna laughs, and it's such a normal, warm sound that Thea feels some of her tension ease. I asked Lyanna to come from Europe, Kieran explains, his hand finding the small of Thea's back. She's a healer, the best vampire healer in our world. She's delivered the few vampire-human hybrid children that have been born in the last century. I want her here for the pregnancy, to make sure both you and the baby are healthy and safe. You're going to need specialized care, Lyanna says gently, moving closer. Your pregnancy will be different from a normal human pregnancy. Faster, for one thing. You'll likely give birth in about 6 months rather than 9. And the baby will be stronger than a human infant from the start. But I'll be here every step of the way to help you through it. Thea looks between them. This ancient vampire king who looks at her like she hung the stars, and his equally ancient sister who flew across an ocean to help care for a human woman she's never met. And something inside her chest cracks wide open. "I don't understand," she whispers. "Why me? I'm nobody special. I'm a waitress from Portland who's lived a completely ordinary life." "Why would you?" She gestures helplessly at the house, at Leanna, at everything. Kieran turns her to face him fully, his hands on her shoulders, and the look in his eyes is fierce. "You are not ordinary," he says, and there's an edge of command in his voice that makes her spine straighten. "You are extraordinary, Thea Morrison. You are kind, and brave, and generous. You make terrible jokes that somehow always make me laugh. You cry during commercials with puppies. You remember the names of every regular customer at your cafe and their favorite orders. You raised a brilliant daughter on your own while working 2 jobs. You paint at midnight when you can't sleep, and you sing off-key in the shower, and you always, always try to see the best in people even when they don't deserve it." He cups her face in his hands, and his voice goes soft. "You look at me, at this creature who has lived for centuries, who has done things I'm not proud of, who rules over beings that would terrify most humans, and you see just Kieran. Not the king, not the vampire, just the man who wants nothing more than to spend every remaining day of his very long life making you happy." Thea is crying again, but this time they're good tears. Happy tears. "You're stuck with me now," she tells him, trying for levity even though her voice shakes. "Pregnant and 46, and probably going to get really cranky when the hormones kick in." "I'm counting on it," Kieran murmurs, and then he's kissing her again, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they finally break apart, Leanna is smiling at them with obvious approval. "I'm going to leave you 2 alone," she says. "I'll be staying in the guest house on the property, so I'm close if you need me, but I think you have some celebrating to do." She winks at Thea. "Congratulations, both of you. This child is going to be so loved." After Leanna leaves, Kieran leads Thea through the house, showing her every room, every carefully chosen detail. The nursery he's already started planning, painted in soft sage green with white furniture, and a rocking chair positioned by the window. The library with floor-to-ceiling shelves already half full of books he thinks she'll love. The studio with its perfect light and blank canvases waiting. "When did you do all this?" she asks, overwhelmed. "I've been working on it since our second date," he admits. "I know it was presumptuous. I know I should have asked you first. But Thea, I knew. From the moment I met you, I knew you were my forever. I just had to convince you of it." They end up on the terrace as the sun begins to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Kieran pulls her into his lap on the outdoor sofa, and Thea curls into him, feeling safe and cherished and utterly bewildered by how much her life has changed in 3 months. "What about Vanessa?" she asks suddenly, remembering. "She's going to tell everyone. She's going to make my life hell." "Let her try," Kieran says, and there's dark amusement in his voice. "I've already had my lawyer, a very competent vampire who specializes in human-vampire relations law. Send her a cease and desist letter. If she spreads any defamatory statements about you or our family, she'll find herself facing legal consequences she can't begin to imagine. And I've made some calls. The Riverside Medical Clinic will be undergoing a very thorough audit of their workplace harassment policies. I suspect Vanessa will be far too busy trying to keep her job to worry about gossiping. You can't ruin her life because she was mean to me," Thea protests weakly, though she can't deny the satisfaction curling through her. "I'm not ruining her life. I'm simply ensuring she faces appropriate consequences for her actions. There's a difference." He presses a kiss to her temple. "You are going to be the vampire queen, Thea. That means you are under my protection absolutely. Anyone who harms you or our child will answer to me. The Vampire Queen. The words still don't seem real. I don't know how to be a queen, she confesses. Good thing you'll have centuries to learn, Kieran murmurs. Because I'm going to turn you. Thea, after the baby is born, if you're willing, I'm going to give you immortality so we can spend forever together. You'll never age another day. You'll never be sick. You'll be strong and powerful and eternal. And Ivy, Thea asks quietly, I'll have to watch my daughter grow old and die. Kieran's arms tighten around her. If Ivy wants the gift of immortality when she's older, I will give it to her, but that will be her choice to make, not ours. All I can promise is that I will make sure she is cared for and protected for her entire life, whether that's 50 years or 500. Thea thinks about it, really thinks about it, forever with this man who loves her so completely, forever to paint and read and explore the world, forever to raise their impossible child and watch them grow. The chance to see what the future holds, what humanity becomes, what wonders and sorrows await. Ask me again after the baby is born, she says finally. But Kieran? I think my answer is going to be yes. His smile could light up the darkening sky. They sit there as night falls over Portland, wrapped up in each other, talking about nursery colors and baby names, and how they're going to explain to Thea's very Catholic mother that her new son-in-law is a vampire king. They laugh and plan and dream, and Thea thinks about how 3 months ago she was reaching for strawberries in a grocery store, lonely and resigned to spending the rest of her life alone. And now she's here, pregnant at 46 with a vampire's baby, engaged to a man who's lived for centuries and chosen her, about to become the vampire queen of the Pacific Northwest. Her hand rests on her still flat stomach, and she feels Kieran's hand cover hers, warm and solid and real. I love you, she tells him, and means it with every fiber of her being. I love you too, he whispers back. My mate, my queen, my miracle. Below them, the city sparkles with 1,000,000 lights, each one a life being lived, a story unfolding. And Thea realizes that her story, the one she thought was already written, already done, is just beginning. She thinks about Vanessa's cruel words from earlier, about being a desperate middle-aged woman who fell for a player's lies. And then she thinks about Kieran on his knees in that storage room, tears in his ancient eyes, calling their baby a miracle. Public validation doesn't get much better than that. The vampire king chose her. Not despite her age, or her ordinary life, or her stretch marks and laugh lines, but because of who she is at her core, because she makes terrible jokes and cries at puppy commercials and sees the man beneath the monster. And tomorrow, when Kieran holds a press conference, and yes, apparently vampire kings hold press conferences to announce major news to both the human and vampire communities, the whole world will know that Thea Morrison, 46-year-old waitress from Portland, is carrying the heir to the Nightborn vampire dynasty. Let Vanessa try to spin that into something shameful. What are you thinking about? Kieran asks, and she can hear the smile in his voice. I'm thinking that life is very strange, Thea says, and very wonderful, and that I can't wait to meet our baby. Me too, Kieran agrees, then quieter. What should we name them, if it's a girl? Thea considers. Not Elena. Not Alara. Something unique for their unique child. Ren, she says finally. If it's a girl. Ren Nightborn. Kieran tests the name, and his smile grows. Ren. I like it. It's perfect. And if it's a boy? You choose, Thea tells him. He's quiet for a long moment, and when he speaks, his voice is thick with emotion. Felix. It means lucky, fortunate, because that's what I am, Thea. The luckiest man, vampire, to ever exist. Felix or Ren Nightborn. The impossible child of a vampire king and a waitress who met over strawberries in a grocery store. Thea starts to laugh, and once she starts, she can't stop. It's not hysterical laughter, just the pure joy of a woman who's been given a second chance at happiness she never expected to find. Kieran joins in, and they sit there on their terrace, laughing together as the stars come out overhead. Already a family even before their baby is born. And somewhere across the city, Vanessa Hartwell is probably rage posting on Facebook about vampire fantasies and desperate women. But Thea can't bring herself to care, because she's going to be a mother again. She's going to marry the love of her life. She's going to become a queen. And it all started because she reached for the last package of organic strawberries. Life really is very strange. And very, very wonderful. 3 weeks later, Thea is standing in the middle of the grand ballroom at the Nightbourne estate, surrounded by what feels like half of Portland's elite society, and a disturbing number of beings she's learning to recognize as vampires. The engagement party wasn't her idea. Kieran insisted that they needed to make a proper announcement, to introduce her to both communities formally, but now that she's here, wearing a midnight blue gown that cost more than her car and probably shows too much cleavage for a woman her age, she's regretting ever agreeing to this spectacle. Her hand keeps drifting to her stomach, which is already starting to show a gentle curve that Leanna says is right on schedule for a hybrid pregnancy. She's 13 weeks along by human counting, but Leanna estimates she's closer to 20 weeks in terms of fetal development. The baby is growing fast, impossibly fast, and just yesterday, she felt the first flutter of movement that made her cry with joy and terror in equal measure. "You look like you're about to bolt," Marisol murmurs beside her, resplendent in a deep purple dress that Kieran had personally sent to her apartment, along with a note thanking her for being such a loyal friend to Thea. "Want me to create a distraction? I could pretend to faint. I'm a nurse. I know exactly how to do it convincingly." Thea laughs despite her nerves. "I'm fine. There are so many people." "There are also about 20 vampires in this room who would die for you," Marisol points out. "Literally. Kieran has made it very clear that you are to be treated as royalty. I heard him telling that scary-looking guy with the scar that anyone who shows you disrespect will be exiled from the territory. The scary-looking guy with the scar is Cassius, Kieran's head of security and his oldest friend. He's been a vampire for over 400 years, fought in actual medieval battles, and looks like he could tear a person in half with his bare hands. He's also surprisingly gentle with Thea, always making sure she has a chair when she needs one, and bringing her ginger tea without being asked when her morning sickness acts up." Thea scans the crowd, looking for Kieran. He's across the room, deep in conversation with a group of vampire elders, but the moment her gaze finds him, his head turns as if he can feel her looking. Their eyes meet across the crowded ballroom, and he smiles at her with such warmth that her anxiety eases a fraction. He excuses himself from the conversation and begins making his way toward her, and Thea watches the crowd part for him like water around a stone. He commands attention without trying, this man who's chosen her, and she still can't quite believe he's real. "There you are," he murmurs when he reaches her, pressing a kiss to her temple. "I was beginning to think you'd been stolen away by my more charming guests." "No one here is more charming than you," Thea says, and means it. Flatterer. But his eyes are warm with affection. "How are you feeling? Is the baby?" "We're both fine," she assures him. "Just a little overwhelmed." "Say the word and I'll clear the room," Kieran offers seriously. "I don't care about the party, Thea. I only care about you." Before she can respond, there's a commotion near the entrance to the ballroom. The crowd noise shifts, conversations faltering, and Thea turns to see what's causing the disturbance. Her blood turns to ice. David, her ex-husband. David is here. He's pushing his way through the crowd with his girlfriend. No, fiancé now. Thea remembers. A 28-year-old personal trainer named Brittany, who's everything Thea isn't. Young, blonde, perky, with the kind of body that comes from spending 4 hours a day at the gym. David looks furious, his face red and blotchy the way it used to get when he was about to start yelling, and he's making a beeline straight for Thea. "What the hell is this?" he demands loudly enough that the entire ballroom goes quiet. "What the hell do you think you're doing, Thea?" Kieran goes very, very still beside her. She can feel the temperature around them drop several degrees, can sense the sudden tension in every vampire in the room, but his voice, when he speaks, is perfectly controlled. "I don't believe you were invited to this event," Kieran says pleasantly. Security must have missed you at the door. An oversight I'll be addressing. David barely glances at him. His entire focus is on Thea, and she can see the calculation in his eyes, the same look he used to get when he was about to say something cruel disguised as concern. Don't talk to me, whoever you are. I'm talking to my wife. Ex-wife, Thea corrects, finding her voice. Her heart is pounding, but she lifts her chin. We've been divorced for 5 years, David. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? What are you doing here? He gestures wildly at the ballroom, at the elegant crowd, at Kieran. Vanessa told me you'd lost your mind, but I didn't believe her. I thought she was exaggerating, but this... He laughs, and it's an ugly sound. This is pathetic, Thea. Even for you. David, maybe we should go... Brittany tries to interject, tugging on his arm. But he shakes her off. No. Someone needs to talk sense into her before she completely embarrasses herself and our daughter. He turns his attention back to Thea, and his expression is pure condescension. Let me guess. You met some rich guy who fed you a bunch of lines about how special you are, how beautiful you are, and you actually believed him? And now you're what? Playing dress-up? Pretending to be some kind of society wife? Each word is designed to cut, to reduce her back to the insecure woman she was during their marriage. The woman who believed him when he said she was lucky he stayed with her. The woman who blamed herself when he cheated, when he criticized her cooking, and her clothes, and her laugh. But Thea isn't that woman anymore. You need to leave, she says, and she's surprised by how steady her voice is. Right now. I'm not leaving until you admit this is all some kind of midlife crisis, David shoots back. You're pregnant, Thea? At 46? Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is? How irresponsible? You can barely take care of yourself, and now you think you can raise another baby? You're going to end up alone and broke when this guy... He waves dismissively at Kieran, gets bored and moves on to someone younger, someone better. The words hit their mark. Thea feels them land in all her soft places, all her secret fears. Because isn't that exactly what she's been afraid of? That Kieran will wake up one day and realize he's made a terrible mistake? That she's not enough, has never been enough, will never be enough. But then Kieran moves. One moment he's standing beside her, and the next, he's between her and David. And the air in the ballroom has gone arctic. His eyes have shifted from amber to that molten gold that means his vampire nature is rising to the surface, and when he speaks, his voice carries the weight of centuries of absolute authority. You will not speak to her that way, Kieran says, and it's not a request. You will not speak to her at all. You will turn around, you will leave my home, and you will never come near her again. Do you understand me? David actually takes a step back. Even in his anger, some primal part of his brain recognizes that he's facing a predator. Who do you think you are? David tries to bluster, but his voice has gone thin. I am Kieran Nightborn. I am the vampire king of this territory. I am Thea's fiancé and the father of her child. And I am the man who is going to give you exactly 10 seconds to leave before I have you physically removed from this property and banned from ever stepping foot in it again. Vampire King? David laughs, but it sounds hysterical now. Is that what he's telling you, Thea? Is that the line he fed you? There's no such thing as... Kieran moves so fast that David doesn't even have time to finish his sentence. Suddenly, Kieran is right in front of him, close enough that David has to crane his neck back to maintain eye contact, and Kieran's canines have elongated into very obvious, very real fangs. There's no such thing? Kieran asks softly, dangerously. Perhaps you'd like me to demonstrate exactly what I am? David goes white. Brittany actually screams, a short, sharp sound of pure terror, and stumbles backward into a champagne table. That's not possible, David stammers. That's a trick, special effects, or... It's very possible, Kieran says, and you are very, very lucky that Thea is a woman of compassion who would be unhappy if I tore out your throat for insulting her. So instead, I'm going to ask you one more time, very nicely. Leave my home. Now. Cassius appears at David's elbow, all 6 feet 4 inches of vampire muscle and menace. "This way, sir," Cassius says, and it's phrased as a courtesy, but delivered as a command. David looks around the ballroom wildly, as if searching for allies, but every face he sees is either sympathetic to Thea or openly hostile to him. The vampire elders are watching with expressions that make it very clear what they think of a human who would dare insult their future queen. The human guests, Portland society members who've been carefully vetted and educated about the vampire community's existence, are looking at him with disgust. "This is insane," David says, but he's already backing toward the exit, Brittany clutching his arm. "Thea, when this all falls apart, and it will, don't come crying to me." "I won't," Thea says, and she means it with her whole heart. "I have everything I need right here." Cassius escorts David and Brittany out, and the moment they're gone, the ballroom erupts in conversation. But Thea barely hears it. She's shaking, adrenaline flooding her system, and her hand has gone to her stomach protectively. Kieran turns to her immediately, his fangs retracting, his eyes fading back to amber. His hands cup her face with infinite gentleness. "Are you all right?" he asks urgently. "Did he hurt you?" "The baby." "We're fine," Thea manages, though her voice is shaking. "I'm fine. I can't believe he showed up here. I can't believe he said those things in front of all these people." "He's a fool," Kieran says flatly. "A small, petty, cruel fool who can't stand to see you happy. But Thea, listen to me." He waits until she meets his eyes. "Nothing he said was true. Not one word. You are not pathetic. You are not irresponsible. You are not going to end up alone. Do you hear me?" Thea nods, but the tears are coming now, hot and humiliating. "He was right about one thing," she whispers. "I barely managed raising Ivy the first time. I worked constantly. I was always exhausted. I made so many mistakes. What if I can't do this? What if I'm too old, too tired, too—" "Stop." Kieran's voice is firm, but loving. "Thea, you raised a brilliant, kind, strong woman while working 2 jobs and dealing with a husband who didn't value you the way he should have. You did that alone. But you won't be alone this time. You'll have me. You'll have Leanna. You'll have an entire community of people who love you and want to support you. You'll have resources and help and all the time in the world to be the mother you want to be." He presses his forehead to hers, and his voice drops to a whisper meant only for her. "And Thea? You are not too old. You are not too tired. You are exactly right. You are perfect. And I thank whatever forces in the universe brought you into that grocery store on the same day I was there, because finding you has been the greatest gift of my very long life." Thea is full-on crying now, but they're good tears. Healing tears. "I love you," she tells him. "I love you so much it scares me." "Good," Kieran says, and he's smiling. "Love should be a little scary. It means it matters." Someone clears their throat nearby, and Thea turns to see Leanna standing there with Ivy beside her. Her daughter flew in from Portland this morning for the party, and seeing her now, beautiful and strong in a forest green dress, her dark hair swept up elegantly, makes Thea's heart swell. "Mom," Ivy says, and there are tears in her eyes too. "That was amazing. You were amazing." "I didn't do anything," Thea protests. "Kieran—" "You stood up to Dad," Ivy interrupts. "You didn't back down. You didn't let him make you small. Do you know how long I've been waiting to see you do that?" Thea blinks. "You have?" "Mom, he was terrible to you, for years, and you took it. You believed him when he said awful things about you. But just now, when he tried to do it again, you didn't let him. You told him to leave. You stood there with your head up, and you chose yourself. You chose your happiness. You chose Kieran and your baby, and your future." Ivy is fully crying now. "I'm so proud of you." They collapse into each other, mother and daughter, holding tight while the party swirls around them. Thea can feel Ivy's hand move to her small baby bump, protective and tender. "You're going to be an amazing mom to this baby," Ivy whispers. "Just like you were to me. Just like you still are." When they finally pull apart, Leanna is offering them both tissues with a knowing smile. "Family is beautiful," she says simply. "And you 3, 4, counting the little one, are going to be a wonderful family." Kieran draws them all close, one arm around Thea, one hand on Ivy's shoulder, and Thea realizes that this is her family now. Not David and his cruelty. Not Vanessa and her gossip. This collection of beings, vampire and human, ancient and young, bound together by love and choice. "I propose a toast," Kieran announces, and the ballroom quiets instantly. He raises his champagne glass, filled with what Thea knows is actually blood, though it looks like red wine to casual observers. "To Thea Morrison, soon to be Thea Nightborn, the bravest woman I know, the love of my life, the mother of my child, and the future vampire queen of the Pacific Northwest." The room erupts in applause and raised glasses. Thea looks around at all these faces, some human, some vampire, all genuinely happy for her, and feels something shift inside her chest. The last piece of doubt that David's words had lodged there crumbles away. She is enough. She has always been enough. And she's going to be a wonderful mother to this baby, this impossible miracle growing inside her. Later, after the party has wound down and most of the guests have left, Thea finds herself back on the terrace with Kieran. The night is clear and cool, and she's wrapped in his suit jacket, breathing in his scent, sandalwood and something wild and indefinably him. "Thank you," she says quietly, "for defending me, for believing in me." "Always," Kieran promises. "Thea, I need you to understand something. David was wrong about everything, but he was especially wrong about one thing. I will never get bored of you. I will never move on. In 273 years, I have never met anyone who makes me feel the way you do. You make me laugh. You make me think. You make me want to be better than I am. You make me feel human in the best possible way." He takes her hand and places it over his heart. "This heart beats for you. Only you. For as long as I exist." Thea can feel the steady rhythm beneath her palm, slower than human, but strong and sure. 6 more months, she says, thinking of Leanna's timeline. 6 months until the baby comes. "And then a lifetime after that," Kieran adds. "A real lifetime. Centuries, if you'll have me." "I'll have you," Thea confirms. "All of you, forever." They stand there under the stars, and Thea thinks about the woman she was 3 months ago, the lonely waitress who thought her best years were behind her, who believed she'd spend the rest of her life alone, working double shifts and visiting her daughter on holidays. That woman would never have believed this moment was possible, but that woman didn't know that magic was real, didn't know that love could strike like lightning in the produce section of a grocery store, didn't know that families could be chosen and built from the most unlikely materials, didn't know that at 46, with gray in her hair and laugh lines around her eyes, she could still be someone's forever. Thea Morrison is going to be a mother again. She's going to marry a vampire king. She's going to become immortal and spend centuries exploring the world with the man she loves. She's going to raise a child who is half human, half vampire, and entirely miraculous. And it all started because she reached for the last package of strawberries. Inside the house, she can hear Ivy and Leanna laughing about something, can hear Cassius giving orders to the staff about cleaning up, can hear the comfortable sounds of her new life settling into place around her. "Come to bed," Kieran murmurs against her hair. "You need rest. You and our little Felix or Wren." "Wren," Thea says suddenly, with absolute certainty. "It's a girl. I can feel it." Kieran's smile is radiant. Then Wren it is. Wren Nightborn, daughter of the Vampire King and the bravest woman in Portland. He scoops her up in his arms effortlessly, and Thea laughs, wrapped in his embrace as he carries her inside. She's going to be a vampire queen. She's going to live forever. She's going to have a daughter named Wren, who will grow up knowing she's loved beyond measure. And David Morrison can spend the rest of his very ordinary, very mortal life regretting that he ever let her go. Thea's story isn't ending. It's just beginning.